Hi, thank you for joining. Today is a rather special live. It's a very special topic. We're talking about something very special, and that is special kids, special children. And we have someone joining the live today, and they will be joining shortly. And let me just introduce myself to all of you. I am Aanchal Bedi, a certified Theta healer, certified Access Consciousness practitioner, and I am so glad to be introducing this new topic to our page. And I've been waiting for the right opportunity, and I think this is quite the one. We are talking about all of those kids that belong to the labels of autism, the spectrum of autism, all the labels of ADHD, ADD, OCD, all of that. And why this topic is so necessary, it's so important to bring up chats like these because it's a very, very limited space, very small platform wherein we talk about all of this. Yes, there are very many doctors doing remarkable work in these lines, empowering kids with special needs. There are very many healers, very many coaches, teachers, so many people who are doing such excellent work in their fields, empowering people who require us, who require our greatness to be able to empower them because they are already so great. So today it is just about these kids, and I will be inviting Janice and Brian today, who are parents of two children who are within the autism spectrum, and they are the founders of Autism and Beyond, which is a wonderful platform which allows them to connect to other parents who are bringing up children with special needs. They empower them, they give them the a little peek into their own lives of how they have brought up their children, empowered them to see them with a completely different vision. So all of these special needs children, they are different, right? But just because they are different, that doesn't mean that they are wrong. Different is just different. Different has nothing to do with their wrongness, and we are the ones who categorize them as abnormal. We are the ones who categorize them as, oh, they don't really fit in. Well, tell me, if they were meant to be fit in into this reality, would they be born this way? They are born to stand out. And all the efforts that go into making them fit in into our reality, all those efforts will go in vain. It will never create anything greater for this world. Being different is, I think, the greatest gift that you can give to planet Earth, and that is exactly what these amazing kids are doing. And our perception, our limited points of view are just putting them back into that label, putting them back into this jail, which is the label of autism, the label of OCD, which is never allowing them to tap into their greatness. Imagine if Albert Einstein's mother would have told him, hey, please don't work on these crazy scientific formulas that you do. Nobody really gets it. Can you just sit down and do a little bit of algebra like the other kids of your class are doing? Would we have gotten the greatest physician the world has ever seen? So the same thing is with these amazing, lovely children. And the entire concept is to see how extraordinary these lovely children are. And in the study of access consciousness, let's label them in a different way. The study of access consciousness labels such children as X-Men. Why X-Men? Because they are born with extraordinary capacities, extraordinary capabilities, and it is only our vision that doesn't allow us to see the ability. We just tag them as disabled. Oh, they're disabled and they are a project that we need to fix. So here we have two people, and as they do join in, all right, they are right joining in shortly. They will be telling you their own experience of bringing up two kids that were diagnosed to be within the autism spectrum. And oh, here they are. Hello, Janice and Brian. How are you? Glad to
Good,
have
how are
you.
you?
Okay, so I'll request you to adjust your screen a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that looks good. Very well. Thank you so much for joining in. So, to all the listeners, first of all, I've got to tell you, when I got to know about these two guys, I got really excited. and I wanted to know more about them. See, we being theta healers, we being access consciousness practitioners, Jessica and I, we do work with kids that have these special needs, but we only get to see a little window. We just get to tap into a little bit of their lives. We don't get to be an entire part and existence within their lives. And that's why when I got to know Brian and Janice, I wanted to just kind of dive into their experiences, learn from them. So here they are. Thank you so much for being here. Hi,
Thank you,
both.
Aanchal. Thank you, Aanchal, for having us in. So at least we could share a bit of insight, like of a small
Yes.
bit of learning.
So,
Yes.
like I was telling all the listeners, there are very many doctors and therapists and coaches and guides who are doing such great work with these children, and they do bring in a platform. They make a platform available for all of this chat to happen. However, with you, I want you to bring in your own experience here. Tell us about your journey. Tell us about your experiences, about your children, and how your children changed, and how you could actually tap into their greatness when you started to shift your perception towards them.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll introduce ourselves by saying that we are the proud parents of Joanne and Bryden, and it gives us a lot of pride by saying so, because there was a time where I'm sure many of the special needs parents or uh, families who have differently able kids will identify what actually we're referring to.
Yeah.
So our children were diagnosed at the age of maybe 2.5, and from there our lives changed along with our kids.
Of
So
course.
yeah, in fact, at that moment, autism itself, we were very less aware, as neither of us in our family or in the closest friend circle or the people that we knew, no one knew anything about this. So we were taken by surprise as to, now what kind of.
Actually,
Yeah.
that is so right, because this information needs to be shared. There are so many parents out there who require that kind of assistance. There is such limited information about it. You Google it, and Google will tell you to take your kids to the doctor. And the doctors are doing their greatest. Let's not, point fingers at anyone. Everybody is doing their greatest work. But unfortunately, these children are very easily put on medications to fine tune them, to tune them down, to, let's say, to dim their light. And is that actually right? Is that even fair on these kids? So what was
Very
your
right.
experience like when you learned about your children's diagnosis, when you learned about their differences? How was the journey for you? And I really want to ask you guys today, and I want the listeners to know that you are right now providing a platform of inspiration to a lot of other parents who are in a similar journey. But what was your inspiration? What inspired you to stand up together and be there for other parents?
Okay, we'll just start with a small brief of how life started. As I just mentioned earlier, that both our children were diagnosed being on the autism spectrum when we were back in Dubai. Yeah,
Okay.
and at that point of time, in Dubai or in the UAE, there was not much of awareness. So
Mm-hmm.
autism, we that was never heard of, at least by us and all the people around us. And so that we did go, and I'm trying to make things very on a very basic platform here, that we had no clue what was autism. There was nothing, we had no clue at all. And first my daughter was diagnosed. She was about maybe two, just turned two.
Okay.
And we still digested it, and we said, okay, we have to work on things. And after a year, maybe 1.5 year to 2 years, our son was also diagnosed, and then
Okay.
that was what where the crucial point took place. And that made us really thinking, and from there on, we started investigating, doing our research. And let me say that we were in the denial phase, which is normal for any family to go through.
Yes,
You know,
I can
so
imagine.
Yes. So it is absolutely normal. We were in a denial phase where we even ask questions to ourselves, why me?
Yeah. Because we instantly see this as a punishment. Thank you for bringing that up, Janice, because we suddenly feel that something bad has been inflicted onto us when we hear about such information. That is our limited perception. That is the kind of point of view that we live with. We see that our child has been diagnosed with this label, so we instantly see that as the wrongness. Oh, this is wrong, this is terrible, and we have been inflicted with this punishment. Why, God? Why me? So how did you, again, like, let me ask you, how did you get out of that? And when we speak with, when we meet clients who bring their children to us with any such special needs, there is this sense of shame attached. There is this slight sense of shame attached, wherein it's very difficult for parents to even own up to the problem, or own up to the situation, rather. Let's not call it a problem. There is a difficult, you have to really make them open up to what the child is and what the child is all about. So how was that phase from coming to denial, from denial to acknowledgement? What was that all about?
Yeah, it was quite a tough journey, at that moment, because we used to have our elders also in our family, like my in-laws and other senior citizens
Okay.
who kept on telling us, okay, there are some kids who speak late, kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
and it could be possible, that probably that someone would say, I spoke at 5 years old, I spoke at 7 years old, trying to not to accept what is a fact, okay, because they used to just give us just a sense of a hope,
Yeah,
but then hope is something, which sometimes gets misleading, and you lose on time,
yeah.
okay,
There is a lot of
and
difference between living in denial and living in
yes,
acknowledgement. So
exactly,
that is actually, I think, one of the things about consciousness is to be able to acknowledge what is true, to be able to have that strength, the capacity to be able to acknowledge that, okay, it is what it is. This is the situation that I'm presented with. But what's so right about this situation? What's so right about my kid that I'm not getting? And that's one of the tools that I want to tell the listeners here, to all the parents who are here, to all the guardians, to all the teachers who are listening to this. Please ask this question to yourself whenever you are in that space of denial with your children, whenever you have a difficult time understanding your children and you just don't connect with them. At times, I am a mother myself. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, and there are times you just don't understand their behavior, no matter how little they are or no matter how grown up they are. They could be teenagers. Even teenagers are very difficult to understand. So a little tool that I want to share with you right now is, every time you're facing that level of confusion with your kids and it's difficult for you to connect with them, just ask this question: what's so right about my kid that I'm not getting? What's so right about my kid that I'm not getting? Just ask this question to the energy of you, to the energy of the universe, and see what awareness shows up for you. And that is, again, like Brian, you were saying, we came to the acceptance, you said. We were no longer living in denial. And that is so important. That is so, so very important. Can we know more about that, please?
no, in fact, I'd like to bring in a few more incidents, like for
Sure.
example, Brighton, when he was say 2.5 years old,
Okay.
he used to be too aggressive,
Okay.
okay, and then we were not able to understand, that
Uh-huh.
both of us were not able to control him.
Mm-hmm.
He used to be all over our body, pulling our hair, scratching us, all these things, and to some extent, we were also, since we had never seen anything like this in a child, we were thinking probably there is some sort of a spirit come on him,
Yeah.
okay. We used to even put, holy water on him, trying to think, probably that would ease him down. So this is a part of it, later on in life we understood, the moment we started connecting to our children, trying to understand what are they trying to feel, okay, that is when, the major change brought out in our life.
In
And
fact,
can you share a little bit about that? What made you connect to your children? how, like, coming from that space of thinking that a spirit, an entity outwardly has caught onto your child, from there to connecting to your kid, what was that all about? How did you create that level of compassion, that level of understanding? Because one thing we all know, and I would like to tell the listeners, that many kids within the autism range, uh, it's very difficult for them to communicate verbally. And that's not a wrongness, that's not a disability at all. They are working at the speed, their minds are working at the speed of light. They are, maybe you can call them as an evolved species. We are devolved, we are lower level species. They are actually, to be honest, they are higher level species. They communicate telepathically, we communicate verbally. According to them, if you start watching the kids with these abilities, they perceive us as slow. Isn't it actually amazing? We believe that they're slow. Oh my god, he's not being able to talk, he's 6 years old or whatever. And we immediately just make that conclusion that my child is slow because every other child is now framing full sentences. So there is something wrong with my kid. No. What's right about my kid that I'm not getting? The actual thing is that they are way faster, way superior, way more evolved than we guys are. And that is something that parents should be able to tap into. And I want to ask you, how did you manage to tap into that level of awareness with your kids?
Well, Anchal, this is a very good question, I would say, because this is what changed our lives here. Okay, when we started actually looking at the world from our children's eyes.
Yeah.
Well, with autism, which is a lifelong journey, okay, there are a lot of sensory needs which go up and down. There is a lot of regulation that our child requires. And the moment, I mean, at least this sort of a magic thing, what happened with us was as soon as we started looking at things from their eyes, things changed, and our perspective changed. We try to understand, for example, if my son or our daughter is, when she was very young, she used to just spin around. And then we started understanding why does she do that. So there are some certain sensory needs that are not integrated, and that is why she's doing it. And when you start connecting with all this, start thinking from their point of view, automatically
Yeah.
the acceptance and half your battle is won.
Yeah, that is so beautifully said. We also believe, and our study teaches us, that sometimes the solution to a certain problem is actually just a change in your perception. You change your perception, you change your point of view, and the problem situation turns into the situation of greatness. And that is so beautifully explained by the both of you. So, would you like to share some tips, some techniques, some ways with which parents can actually change their lens with which they view their children? And let's not even talk about only children with special needs. Let's talk about all children for that matter. What do you have to say? How do we change that perception? Any tips do you have for parents that we can bring
I
up over
I
here?
wouldn't say only children, okay? Only even we as adults, okay, have our ways and means to regulate ourselves.
Yes.
If someone having an anxiety and talking, probably he will be shaking his legs,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
or he'll be moving his pen or doing something like this. They have got their own ways of regulating.
Uh-huh.
But then what happens, these are the ways of regulation which is acceptable in the normal society. Okay, these are
Mm-hmm.
not taken as something abnormal. But
Yeah.
then, if a child or even if an grown adult under the spectrum, or anyone for that matter, behaves in an inappropriate way, that is
Huh.
when we see eyeballs rolling
Yeah.
to see this inappropriate behavior. But then what happens is that we don't understand that the child or the adult is trying to regulate himself to get himself calm so that he can communicate and he can connect. That
Exactly.
that is a way,
So
like, no,
that is so rightly said. A lot of people will see such behavioral aspects as disrespect. They are easily
Yeah.
labeled as, oh, this child is so disrespectful. He's always fidgety, he's always running around, he's always blabbering something. And that is just seen as a sign of disrespect. There has to be this sense of compassion that needs to be spoken about, I think, openly. There have to be more platforms created for this. That there is this sense of compassion that you need to have for these children, to be able to tap into their knowing. And one of the things that I read in one of the greatest books written by the founders of Access Consciousness, it says that children with these abilities, like, for right now, you and I are talking. So our mind is just at one place. We're talking to each other. We're focused. With these children, there are like 10,000 TV screens open up in their mind at one point of time. That is their level of awareness. That is their level of, they're so expansive in their awareness that they can tap into everything. They literally tap into your thinking, your emotions, your thoughts and feelings. So when they are fidgety, or when they're they're moving around, or they're irritable, it's because they have so much information in hand. They have so much information to play with, and they don't even know how to use all of that. We can't even for 1 second imagine what we would be like if we were suddenly aware of so many things.
Yeah.
So
Actually, to be a little more technical here, I would just like to say, see, there's a lot of integration and processing that we require, on each individual requires.
yes.
So what happens with children and as well as adults on the autism spectrum is they're unable to integrate all the five senses, and that is why you see all these kind of behaviors. Which is actually, if you go to see, we may have, everyone does have some sort of inappropriate behavior, but we know how to regulate ourselves. So what happens with autism is they're unaware, and of course gradually they do learn. Of course, that's why we are here to say, that we need an inclusive community. So once, as you know, how we all learned, we looked at each other and we picked up things, right? So the same thing is for our children and for adults on the autism spectrum or who are differently able. The more you include them, the more they understand. They understand the love, they understand the acceptance, and they themselves, everything starts getting integrated automatically. So this is why, we are here to share and to try and give a bit on awareness and acceptance for autism and for all the differently able.
Also, would like to bring in over here, as per what you were just mentioning, Aanchal, that there are society doesn't understand,
yes.
But then till we do not bring this thing across, till we do not advocate, okay, till we do not tell that these are the issues probably our kids are facing, okay, they would always be under assumption, that probably the child is too fidgety, or the child is just moving around here and. But then, to a certain extent, it is our duty as say parents also, that we provide this information to them.
We also want to bring out one small incident here. Some of you are aware and some of you are not. Both our children are Guinness Book of World Record holders for skating. So even during the event also, there was a different sensory feature which all of us were astonished. It was raining, okay, on the rink, and all the children left except our children. So what was happening is, and both our children are on the single or on the inline skates, which is a single blade, if you've seen skate. So it's very difficult to balance, and only our coach and both of us were sure that they would manage. So what was happening here is, children were moving out because it was raining and they were scared that they will miss their balance and things like that. And our children were completely regulated. For our daughter, she was enjoying the rain because she loves rain, and for our son, it was like no boundaries. He was all alone on the full ring. So, what we're trying to say here is that it's just a matter of understanding what our children are, and maybe I wouldn't say issues. It is just a little difficulty that they are, and their brain is wired in a different way. And to understand that, you may have to take a lifetime, but then that's the journey, and that's where we feel that we need to do our bit, the society needs to do their bit, and everybody else too.
See, I think one of the greatest things that can be brought up over here is to have more awareness around it. Since a lot
Yes,
of
yes.
parents are living in a hideout situation because of lack of awareness, lack of information regarding this. It's not about they are being weak or they are being less brave to step out into the society with their children. It's just that there is no information. They themselves don't know what to do with it. And they are so struggling with that battle every day that how would they, show a pretty face to the universe and to the world outside that everything is okay. There is only up till a point that you can fake to the outside world.
True.
And can we so you have created this platform, and I want the listeners to know a little bit more about it. Guys, it's called Autism and Beyond. They have created this platform, an online virtual platform wherein they talk to people about their journey, about their daily experiences with their children. And Brian and Janice, can we know a little bit more about it? How have you empowered other parents? What is your contribution in this area, and how are you bringing about a change here?
No, in fact, as per what we were discussing earlier, that we were also having our own reservations when we are trying to expose our kids initially. Like, for example, going into the elevator inside
Okay.
our own premises,
Okay.
we were always scared initially that how people would react, like if Joanne or Bryden would behave in an inappropriate way.
Hmm.
So we used to see timings and then we used to move out, because we were very skeptical as to what the society is going to see, etc.
Okay.
But then slowly, the moment they started having those achievements, when we started sharing,
Hmm.
whatever the kids are doing, that is when the people around us started looking up to us. They
Yes.
started asking and relating, like, as to what are the kids up to, what is a new thing what Joanne and Braden is doing,
Wow.
and even to an extent that during the Republic Day, Joanne and Braden were called to hoist the Indian flag.
Wonderful.
So that much of a respect that we got, because of our kids, it was just because we opened up and we could advocate.
That is so wonderfully put. So, one of the energetic works that we do with children with different abilities, it's called a Symphony of Possibilities session. And I want all the listeners to know that both Jessica and I facilitate. We are trained and certified to facilitate this process. And since we explained to you earlier just now that it's very difficult to verbally communicate with these children, they are not into words, they are not into steps and statements and explaining them anything. They will not, it's too slow for them, it's too boring for them. They're already at a very, very high level of awareness. So we work with them with energetics. We work with them with the capacities of the universe. You see, the kids with these abilities, their first language is energy. They communicate with energy, they understand energy. And to be able to connect with them, to be able to create, to create that space of no separation, I think that is what brings out the greatness in them. The moment you create, destroy those barriers, and you allow them to know that they are at par, maybe even greater than you, that's where they open up themselves. That's where they truly allow themselves to be fully within their true capacities. And like we heard from your story that your kids are actually mentioned in the Guinness Book of World Records. They hold the greatest records in skating, and that is so wonderful. That is because you guys allowed yourself to step into their space, to have that level of compassion and to not see them as weird or abnormal or somebody who requires uh, some kind of a medical treatment, or they're just your kids. They're just your kids with some extra abilities. And that is what we want to talk about here. And it is so wonderful that you do bring up this space where parents can openly discuss this matter. I think that is more than anything, that is the need of the hour. To be able to be so open about it, to be able to discuss with other parents, to give parents that space of comfort, that we're here for each other, that we're here to inspire each other and work this thing out together. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here, for sharing your experience, for talking about your lives, your journey, your children. And if there is anything else that you want to share with the listeners today, or all the listeners here, do you have any questions that you want to ask Janice and Brian, or any questions that you want to ask me? Please bring that up. We would love to know.
Yeah, in fact, what we like to say, like, that initially we were verbal about our kids. We used to advocate, like, in the form of we used to all of us, the full group, we had arranged to wear T-shirts, like, as to which read "See the able, not the label,"
Wonderfully put.
and
See the
yeah,
able, not the label. That is
not the
so
label.
wonderfully
Yes.
put.
So when we used to also, would like to mention here that both the kids are also deep sea swimmers. Okay,
Wow. Wow.
so whenever we used to go for these events, like, the full group of all the parents used to wear these T-shirts, wherein people who were gathered over there at the event would come to us and ask us as to what does this stand for, like, what is this group up to?
And that was actually the cause of wearing the t-shirts together. So people come to us and ask us, okay, what is this about? And then we can explain about autism.
Wow.
And that's how we started our journey. And at that point of time also, many of our friends and teachers told us, you all should start something, start a blog or start a channel or something or the other. But our hands are full, and they're still
I
full
can
with,
imagine.
with both the children on the spectrum.
As you can see us moving in and out, because we are a nuclear family.
Yeah, so
But
we just need to keep
thank you for giving us your time. This is so valuable. You guys are being such a great contribution to everyone. Of course, to your children. You've seen the greatness in them. Your life has changed with theirs, and you've been such a great contribution to them. And now you are extending that kind of support and
yeah,
help to other parents, to
yeah,
people
and
like
that's
me.
uh,
I am a healer, and like I said, I only get a glimpse into the life of such children, and it's beautiful working with them because they receive you so openly with energies. They do. But to be able to get a peek into your life, to get to learn from your journeys, to get to learn from your experience, I wanted to talk to you guys because I myself wanted to widen my own horizon in this area. I wanted to learn from you guys, and you are doing it with so many parents, thousands and thousands of parents. And I want to tell the listeners here that they have a wonderful channel on YouTube. You can subscribe to them and watch their videos. I have seen some of their videos, and their kids doing brilliant work. So God bless you guys. First of all, thank you for being in this space where we can talk more openly about it, show our acceptance that we are ready to change, that we are ready to get out of this stigma, that we are ready to get out of this shame, that we are truly ready to step into the greatness of what these children are. And thank you so much for doing that, both of you. Thank you so much.
thank you, Anchal. And as you said about our journey, I mean, we still have a long way to go, but we are trying our bit through our channel, which is Autism and Beyond, a positive journey of JNB. To try to reach out to as many families as possible. We've also actually the Instagram, social media was only, I mean, basically a focus because we wanted to reach out to the youth, because that's
Yes.
going to be the next education for our children to understand what our children are going through and form an inclusive community. So that's the reason why we are here. And thank you once again, Anchal, for understanding, for
Thank
giving
you.
us
Thank you so much.
for sharing our journey, and and also being a part of our journey.
Yeah, it's a long journey ahead, and we do get inspired and speak to senior parents also, because we have got a long way ahead. We are
Of
just
course.
somewhere in between right now. So
But more
just a
power
message.
to you. More power to you. You empower you. You empower your kids. I believe that is the journey. What your kids, you are such an important value addition in your kids' life. All parents are. And it is so it's so important to empower yourself, to be able to empower your kids, because you create that ripple effect in your kids life. And one more thing before we sign out for today, I want to say that why I brought this topic up today on our page Solution Healing is because these kids, it's not about changing them. Let's not waste our efforts in changing them. They are wonderful the way they are. They were created by the universe, by God, this way because they are, like I said, they are evolved. They are way more evolved than we are. However, the change has to be brought in the parents, in the
Yes.
guardians, in the
Yes.
coaches, in the teachers, to be able to see the brilliance in these kids rather
Yeah.
than tuning them down. And I was telling Brian and Janice before today's live when we were chatting about this topic that, let's create a series of this. Let's talk more about on this topic. Let's involve more parents, more families who require that kind of support to be able to discuss their matters here, to be able to learn from each other's experience. And I think that is one of the greatest contributions we can be to the world.
Yes, yes. And then very rightly said, Aanchal, is that why do we need to change our children?
Yes.
Let's learn how to get into their space. Let's learn how to communicate with them.
And how to listen to them from your eyes.
Wow. Wow. If we can actually
That's
do that,
literally
like I said, their first language is energy. Everyone's first language is energy, but we've totally forgotten it. Being in this reality, being in the rat race, being who we be, the work that we do, the lives that we lead, we totally forget about the energetics of who we are, of what our soul is, of what our energy is. But these kids haven't. They haven't got disconnected to the energy. And they communicate with energy. They get the vibe of you, they get the sense of you. And when you actually manage to create that communion with your kids, especially kids with these special abilities, when you create that communion, that oneness, that space of no separation, that's when they excel. And I think that's when your relationships become so joyful. So
Yeah.
thank you so much to both of you from the bottom of my heart for being here. Thank you for shelling out your precious time. I know it's difficult for you to take out time like this. You have two kids and you're always watching them, nurturing them with your greatness. So thanks for
exactly.
this. And let's have more of these wonderful discussions together so we can involve more parents and create a space wherein we can connect with more people who could use this assistance and bring up the greatness in their children in their own lives. So
Exactly.
thank
Like
you so
when
much.
we, yeah, when we connect with this kid, only when then parents can have early intervention,
That's
which
right.
can bring a hell lot of a difference in our
Of
kids.
course, of
This is the
course.
best part. So
See,
thanks a lot. Yeah.
awareness is the only thing that will create change. I believe. I truly believe in that. Awareness will create change. If there is lack of awareness, if there is lack of consciousness, we'll stay stuck. And there is no point staying stuck because these kids are the future. They are the future. And if we actually ignite that sense of awareness now, what is available, what is going to be available to our planet, just imagine. So it's never too late. And I believe that meeting you has been such a great value addition to my life. So let's have more of these
Yeah.
conversations together. Let's
Yes,
bring in more parents, more families, and let's be the contribution we truly be.
yes, truly, truly. Thank you for your
Thank you.
contribution as well. And I'm sure we'll
And
be
thank you
Thank
for all
you.
the viewers, and do spread the message, and just spread the awareness for the acceptance of autism.
yeah. And it's
Yes.
Yes,
always the slogan goes, see the able, not
not
the
the
label.
label.
That is so beautifully. I think that's a very beautiful way to end the session today. See the able, not the label. And I request all the parents to be able to do that for their own kids, for their own selves, actually. We also have so many labels that we attach to ourselves, so many labels that we live with. The burden of those labels is what we carry with us every day. So if we could actually get out of those labels, I call them jails. I really call them jails. That is something that has jailed you, confined you from being your true self because you're so busy living up to that stupid label that was attached to you once upon a time. So Thank you so much. And just one more time, see the able, not the label, and see
Yes.
what contribution that becomes to you and to your life. So thank you
Yes.
so much. We will connect again,
Thank
definitely.
you.
Thank you so much for your valuable time. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in, all the listeners today. It was wonderful having you. And you can connect with both these beautiful set of people. You can connect to them on their YouTube, on their Instagram. Bring in your personal questions to them. They would be there to extend their help, their support to you. And let's remember that we're all together in this journey.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.